Tonight on When It's Wildlife with Olivia Newton-John. Then another compelling episode of ER, and at 9:30, The Footy Show.
Tonight, overnight storm plays havoc with homes. A plea that cash be given to Casket family. And Ruck and Moore rivals ready for Rockhampton showdown.
Win News with Craig Campbell.
Good evening. Trees have been uprooted and power lines blown down following strong winds and heavy rain that lashed the Downs. South West Power and council workers have spent most of the day trying to rectify the problems while police attended to chaotic road conditions.
The problems started just before midnight, strong winds forcing trees onto roads and power lines. The Bureau of Meteorology has no way of measuring wind strength in Toowoomba, but it's estimated to have blown up to 56 kilometres an hour, with gusts reaching 75 kilometres an hour. The high winds and heavy rain only made the job more difficult for South West Power crews trying to restore electricity to homes around the region. The first of many trees was uprooted in Wentworth Street around 3:30 this morning, falling across the footpath and into the side of this house, damaging the roof and guttering. The problems continued this morning, fallen power lines creating chaotic situations at a number of intersections around Toowoomba.
The lights are out, but people are again not using their intelligence and driving through those lights the way that they should. If they obey by the traffic rules and give way to their rights and use a little bit of common sense, they'll get through the intersections without any problems at all.
Flooding also caused some problems, with a number of roads outside Toowoomba cut due to overflowing creeks. But the biggest problem has been with power, with up to 30 trees falling across electricity lines. South West Power crews have been working throughout the night and today restoring electricity supplies around the region, but they say there hasn't been extensive damage. Several small areas around Toowoomba have been without electricity at times throughout the day, with most of the extended power losses in isolated areas. Bernadette Young, Win News.
Meantime, weather watchers are keeping a close eye on the skies around the Downs, the DPI predicting one of the best winter crops in years.
Since 9 o'clock Tuesday morning until 9 o'clock today, 140 millimetres has been dumped on Toowoomba, 160 in Chinchilla, with other major centres recording similarly high figures. Average May rainfall has already been surpassed in many areas. In some cases, the May to July average also exceeded.
At the moment, this is the picture pool we had this morning at about 5:30. You can see quite a band of rain running over the Oakey Toowoomba area. And if we go forward in time, we can see the cloud advancing down through the Downs and clearing from the north. You can see there's clearance coming through the north. And that's the main body of rain that's been moving over us the last 24 hours.
The Bureau says a deep low off Harvey Bay is the culprit, winds dragging moisture onto the Downs.
It's a fairly unusual situation this time of year, although looking back through records, this has happened probably once every, say, 15 to 20 years. We get a good break in the season with rains in May.
The main message from the Weather Bureau is that the heaviest of the rain is now behind us, and we're looking forward to a mainly fine weekend.
Down at the DPI, long-range weather forecaster Roger Stone says the rain wasn't a complete surprise.
Some of our more experimental models did suggest some short bursts of heavier rain, and evidently the peanut industry was advised of this last year, so there was some warning out that we would have some bursts of heavier rain around this time.
Pressure indicators over the past 8 years have shown nothing to smile about until now. First time in a long time, the graph is staying positive.
The trick is, though, we have to keep it up high for another month or so before we can be sure we're right back to a reasonable sort of climate pattern. It's probably the best rain we've had for this late autumn period for about 6 years or so. So we'll give the Darling Downs its first decent winter crop for many a year.
Paul Stone, Win News.
DPI inspectors are fearful the fungal disease found in Lockyer Valley sorghum may have spread throughout the Downs and into central Queensland. Survey teams have found positive traces of the ergot fungus around Pittsworth, Southbrook and Westbrook on the inner Downs. They have also begun investigations into southern central Queensland today. It's expected more properties will be in quarantine tomorrow. Growers with suspicions about their own crops are asked to contact the DPI on 076 690 824. Toowoomba's Aboriginal community has moved towards establishing an advisory committee to tackle issues like unemployment, law and order. The committee would liaise with the Toowoomba Council. It's also hoped an Indigenous person will be elected to council.
Aboriginal community members met with Toowoomba City councillors and staff to discuss the process of electing councillors. In the last council elections, Darby McCarthy unsuccessfully ran for office. During the next elections, the Aboriginal community plans to support its candidate with a strategic campaign.
I think we actually need a voice, a representative for the Indigenous community, to actually speak on issues that we feel are important within our own community, as well as issues from across the board.
Ms Griffin says Aboriginal input on council might have changed its outlook on past issues, like the Bridge Street quarry.
I'm not sure if it would have actually changed the whole decision, but I really feel that if there had been input into those decisions by the Indigenous community, then perhaps that decision may have been slightly different.
During the sessions, the community will also address the issue of setting up an advisory committee to liaise with council. It would look at a range of issues, including young Aborigines, law and order and unemployment.
We've got to then be able to work with the council and work with the community, bring any issues across the board, and especially within our Indigenous communities, to council.
Ms Griffin says Aborigines in the past have been reluctant to speak up on issues, and it's now time to change that. Christina Ferris, Win News.
The Golden Casket office is remaining firm on its decision not to award a $100,000 prize to a struggling Toowoomba family. Member for Toowoomba North, Graham Healy, has made a plea to Parliament asking for the decision to be overturned.
Earlier this year, the Bumate family thought they'd won $100,000 on an instant scratcher ticket, only to be told by officials that the ticket had been superimposed with a ghost print from another ticket. The rules state that the ticket is invalid, but member for Toowoomba North, Graham Healy, has taken the issue to Parliament in the hope something can be done.
Look, I raised the matter in State Parliament in the hope that perhaps the Golden Casket office would show perhaps a little bit of compassion towards the plight of the Bumates, who are struggling and, of course, have recently had a death in their family overseas.
Catalina Bumate's sister-in-law died recently. The family hoped to use the winnings for funeral expenses.
Well, the only official word from the Golden Casket office so far has been through their solicitors to solicitors acting on behalf of Mr and Mrs Bumate, virtually saying, I'm sorry, the rules are rules and they can't be broken.
Mr Healy says millions of unclaimed winnings are churned back into the system each year, pleading with the Golden Casket office to make an exception.
The matter is quite clear as far as the rules are concerned, but, you know, in this day and age it would have been a nice gesture and, well, maybe it's not too late.
Paul Stone, Win News.
Toowoomba's taxation office could remain open following an agreement to negotiate the closure of regional offices with the Public Sector Union. The Industrial Relations Commission earlier this week strongly recommended the negotiations. They'll begin tomorrow with union delegates from regional branches, including Toowoomba, attending. The Commission instructed the tax office to abide by various awards and agreements during the closure process. The union says failure to meet the terms of the agreements could see the decision to close overturned. Queensland Governor Leneen Ford awarded a Bravery medal to a Jandowae man today for rescuing a critically injured man from a burning car. 32-year-old truck driver Brian Woolard dragged Toowoomba man Merv Bond from his burning four-wheel drive outside Mooney 18 months ago. A challenge to the controversial aviation fuel levy has been defeated at an Aero Club conference held in Toowoomba this week. The Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association narrowly lost the battle against light aircraft pilots, having to pay a 16-cent facilities excise.
The three-day Royal Federation of Aero Clubs Australia annual conference heard a motion calling for the abolition of the aviation fuel levy. Currently, light aircraft operators are required to pay 16 cents per 80-cent litre of avgas to fund and maintain radio and control tower services. The Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association says the levy is unfair because not all light aircraft operators use such facilities. But the Aero Federation says scrapping the current system would have negative implications.
The charges that would have to be inflicted on the industry in the way of landing charges would be so high that they would deter a lot of people from flying at all.
The Owners and Pilots Association want the system changed to a user-pay basis, but the Aero Club Federation says that's just not feasible.
Every flight would have to be recorded, every pilot's name would have to be recorded, that the people hiring out the aircraft would have to find out who landed the aircraft at that place at that time and add it to their account, and would just be a nightmare.
A resolution has been passed to investigate the current situation, but the Aero Clubs Federation says changes won't be seen for at least a year. Michael Davey, Win News.
Stay with us after the break. A critical shortage of crisis nurses prompts action on the Downs and nodding off to count the sheep in the land of shush.
Right now at your local Mazda dealer, great deals are as thick as autumn leaves under a plane tree, and it's your opportunity to step in and clean up on your next new Mazda. Operation Clean Up means you can spike a great deal on classy Protégé shades with free air. Score a stylish Mazda Rastuna shades with air, or storm off in a feature-packed 626 Eclipse. Plus, if you're quick, you'll clean up big time on brand new Bravo 1-tonners. Hurry, be part of Operation Clean Up at your local Mazda dealer. The savings will blow you away.
This week, Target is taking 20% off the marked price of all ladies' underwear. Bras, corsetry, men's and kids' underwear, plus no deposit lay-by. But hurry, before our prices snap back.
Ouch!
On Saturday, May 11, you could be living on Easy Street.
If you want a good laugh, enjoy country music, love a good story and want to be thoroughly entertained, then book now for Long Gone Lonesome Cowgirls, the smash hit comedy of 1995.
Oh, I'm going to Jackson. Hey, did you ever sleep with your boots
See it now before the return Brisbane season and national tour. Long Gone Lonesome Cowgirls, a La Boite theatre production, presented by Queensland Arts Council and Commonwealth Bank. Loads of laughs, music and drama. Book now for Long Gone Lonesome Cowgirls.
I don't get it. I thought NZ just did breakdowns.
Then you should get to know us better. NZ have service centres Australia-wide, where you can call in or we'll come to you for regular services. Like now.
Get smart. Get to know NZ.
And now, ladies, remember it's a great honour to win the vegetable soup of the show. So be firm, but fair.
Pasta? Is that allowed?
Campbell's new hearty vegetable with pasta is made with 8 wholesome vegetables and pasta.
There's nothing in the rules.
It's the most interesting vegetable soup because it doesn't play by the rules. Campbell's. Good.
Hello, Bruce Page in the National 9 newsroom. Tonight at 6:30, the heavy rain battering Queensland's southeast. Politicians still bickering over national gun laws and $1 million filly for a Melbourne Cup legend. That's at 6:30, straight after Win News. Details then.
Thanks, Bruce. We'll be watching. Welcome back to the local news. People living on the Downs who need to lodge a court appeal will now be able to have their case heard in their local district court. In the past, Toowoomba District Court judges haven't been able to deal with appeals, appellants and their lawyers having to travel to Brisbane. The District Court's legislation amendment bill was passed in State Parliament this week, allowing the changes to go ahead. The move is expected to reduce costs for appellants and taxpayers, also removing extra obstacles for country residents. The Toowoomba Base Hospital has launched an advanced critical care nursing course. The course has been developed in response to the shortage of critical care nurses in the region and the increasing number of patients requiring specialised treatment.
With over 2,000 people admitted to Toowoomba Base Hospital for intensive and trauma nursing care in the last 10 months, the new 20-week course will ensure the number of critical care nurses meets demand.
What we're seeing in hospitals is an increasing acuteness in the illness of people coming into hospital, and so the amount of medical and nursing care required is becoming more emergent, emergency orientated.
She says critical care nursing is highly specialised and requires total familiarity with cutting-edge medical technology. Participating nurses will spend up to 32 hours a week working in intensive and coronary care units, developing equipment competency and confidence dealing with critically ill patients.
The special skills involve supporting patients who need ventilation using artificial support mechanisms. It will provide nurses with the knowledge and skills to look after patients who have had extreme trauma.
She says after the course, nurses will be able to offer and patients can benefit from specialist care previously unavailable on the Downs.
We are able to keep our nurses here in town without them having to go to the city to develop these skills, and that means also for the patient they can be nursed adequately here rather than having to go to the metropolitan area.
The hospital hopes to run a second course later this year. Michael Davey, Win News.
If you're renting your property to a bad tenant or having trouble with the landlord, now's the time to speak up. The Residential Tenancies Authority is doing a complete review of the Act, covering rented premises, and it wants to hear the gripes from both sides.
Despite all the horror stories frequently perpetuated, 90% of Australia's tenants and their landlords manage to see eye to eye and live in relative harmony. The Residential Tenancy Act, which was updated in 1994, is applicable to that 10%, which end in personal and court battles.
The single greatest problem of the industry is lack of communication between the two parties to the agreement.
So the Residential Tenancies Authority is setting about opening the channels, taking submissions from agents, tenants and property owners in order to fine-tune the Act. So far, about 430 submissions have been received, covering nearly every single clause of the Act.
There's the jurisdiction issue, how matters are decided in the Small Claims Tribunal. Things like notice periods, which will always be an issue. Other issues include rent, whether rent's payable, the amount of the bond that should be payable.
In 3 to 4 months' time, Mr Hogan hopes to present a final report and suggestion paper to Minister Ray Connor outlining changes necessary to bring the Act into line with modern living. That will include reacting to local government changes like the introduction of user pay water systems.
With a lot of local government areas turning to a user pay system, that model simply won't work. And we have to reflect what local government areas do in the Act, but until we find out what they're going to do, we can't change the Act. So it's a case where the Act has to reflect the real world.
Kirsty Bozeman, Win News.
The first children's opera ever written, directed, produced and performed on the Downs will open at the University of Southern Queensland tomorrow night. The Land of Shush is a vibrant fairy tale designed to give children their first taste of opera.
Adapted from an idea born in a Fairholme College drama production, The Land of Shush tells the story of a king who decides all noise must be banned. A wise doctor recommends a dose of music to cheer him up, but only one little girl has the courage to remind the king there's just one person left who knows how to sing, and she's in the dungeon.
We've got 3 very large men called the Noise Patrol who check to make sure that there's no noise going on, and they're great fun. We've got a king and a queen who are in modern dress, and actually one of them has a rap song, so that's a bit of a departure, I guess, for an opera. We've got a chorus, we've got lots of colourful costumes and a very colourful set.
The Regional Arts Development Fund provided a grant for the opera to be developed. Kingaroy composer Russell Bauer added the music to Robert Ketton's script, and what resulted was a totally local, full-scale opera simplified and coloured for children.
One of my ideas in writing it was to introduce young people to the concept of opera, and so we've got duets and arias, we've got recitative, we've got characters in there that do nothing but sing, and so we've got, if you like, the whole paraphernalia of opera.
The Land of Shush opens at the University of Southern Queensland tomorrow night, runs until next Friday, then tours to Warwick, Kingaroy and Stanthorpe. Michael Davey, Win News.
To the share market now, the big Australian continues to surge, at one stage hitting a high just under $20 before closing the day at $19.84. Petros is steady at 81 cents and CSR down 1 to 4.58. The time now for sport, and rain's causing a washout for many teams, Costo.
You could say that, Craig. Good evening, everyone. Coming up in sport tonight, rugby after the break as the Downs prepare to take on all comers at the Queensland Country Carnival. Then Toowoomba water skiers speeding to state titles fame.
A few ladies were running up the hill towards us, screaming, "Go back, go back, there's a man with a gun."
It's horrendous, catastrophic. It's beyond even thinking about.
He said there's a lot of wasps around today. There's not many Japs here, are there?
All Tasmanians and all Australians will be sick at heart tonight at this dreadful massacre.
Rely on National 9 News and The Current Affair to tell you exactly what's happening.
On Saturday, May 11, you could be living on Easy Street.
This year's Garden Fest features a spectacular range of new plants and dazzling orchid and flower shows. Meet the experts Ross McKinnon from Burke's Backyard and Malcolm Campbell from Gardening Australia. Garden Fest May long weekend, Toowoomba Showgrounds, proudly supported by Country Bake, Greenwich Botanicals and Win Television.
The choice you've been waiting for. Mitsubishi introduces Australia's newest 6. That choice is waiting for you at your Midwest Mitsubishi dealer. See it, touch it, drive it at Len Paddy Mitsubishi Toowoomba and Dalby, Lindenberg and Company Pittsworth, Graham Collins Mitsubishi Warwick, Ainsworth Motors Chinchilla, Dundas Mitsubishi Kingaroy, Merkin Mitsubishi and Tate Motors Kundawindi. Now, that's a feeling. It's a classic Mother's Day at Argyle Jewellers Clifford Gardens. New style 18-carat gold diamond ring, $1,295. 9-carat gold fancy engraved Belcher link bracelet with filigree padlock and safety chain, independently valued at $725. Argyle's price $595. And an exquisite 9-carat gold fob chain with garnet set heart pendant, independent value $1,100. Argyle's price $895.
You're with Win Local News, produced for the Darling Downs from our Mount Lofty studio in the Garden City of Toowoomba.
You're watching Win Sport. Thanks for joining us. Darling Downs rugby players have had less than a perfect lead-up to their assault on the Queensland Country Championships. The locals have lost both their trial games this season, and today's first round has been a washout.
Rugby teams from across the state have begun doing battle in Rockhampton, the country title up for grabs, the Darling Downs among the main contenders. The 21-man squad is required to play 4 matches over the next 5 days, selectors keeping that fact firmly in mind.
Well, we can only bring 21, so to pick the squad we had to really look at people that can play in a couple of different positions, so everyone has to be fairly versatile.
Despite a shaky preparation, the rep side's hoping to make an impression, tackling the Central Highlands first up, a team they're confident of beating. Also in their pool, Rockhampton and Townsville, the North Queenslanders the ones to watch. Many of the familiar faces remain in the side, with a couple of notable exceptions.
We've got Paul Hanna from Rangers. He's been playing pretty well in the last couple of weeks. And the Queensland Country Under-21 selectors have got their eyes on him.
Like the Downs, Rockhampton has been dealt a deal of rain over the past few days, but with finer weather forecast, Coach Long hopes to play running rugby and keep an open mind about the competition.
We'll try for the running game, but we'll see how we go with the mud, eh?
Paul Stone, Win News.
Toowoomba's Peter Watts has taken out the Australian 40 to 44 years title at the prestigious Mooloolaba Triathlon. The race, won by Miles Stewart of the Gold Coast, included a 1,500-metre swim, a 40-kilometre bike ride and a 10k run. Watts completed the course in just over 2 hours, also winning a state title after remaining undefeated in 6 races. Toowoomba's Tony Gillam and John Rafter also performed well in the race, placing 4th and 6th in their respective categories. The Toowoomba ski boat Little In June enters this weekend's State Lane Racing Championships as hot favourite. At least 12 boats are expected to contest the championships and the wind and rain on Bjorky-Peterson Dam.
Skidding across dam waters at speeds of more than 110 kilometres an hour is probably not the average sportsman's idea of a good weekend. But it's the thrill of staying upright and probably the pain of falling off that keeps lane races going around.
Lane racing is, we have a set of tyres out in the dam or floats, and each boat has its own course, and they're about 400 metres apart.
and you tow your skis around those. So if we've got 4 lanes out, we have 4 boats and they've each got their individual lanes.
This weekend, 12 boats will take to the waters of Kingaroy's Bjelke-Petersen Dam, including series leader Jeff Kumpel's Little Engine, fellow Toowoomba entrant It'll Do, and Oakey's Who Cares. The boats accumulate points over a number of runs with different skiers on different skis, all doing 2 or 3 rounds at breakneck pace. Once the flag drops, it's flat out until the finish line.
It's speed and skill. We have different events, like we have lady and a junior together. We might have a plank and a freeboard. That's a ski without any fittings at all. So the poor guy's got to stand on that as fast as he can. So, you know, it is based on the equipment as well.
And according to Druce, to come off the skis is a winding experience which could be fairly compared with hitting a brick wall.
Oh, it is. You bounce a bit. But we insist the skiers wear helmets to protect them. And usually they wear wetsuits, which, you know, protects them a fair bit.
The action continues for 2 days at Bjelke-Petersen Dam, starting early Saturday morning. Kirsty Bozeman, Win News.
And that is tonight's Costigan Report. Thank you, Craig.
Good, Costo. After the break, the local wet weather details with Chrissy and Catwalk Charisma collecting cash for charity.
Tonight on When It's Wildlife with Olivia Newton-John. Then another compelling episode of ER, and at 9:30, The Footy Show.
Next time you visit the bathroom, take a good look around. You'll find the built-up scum of bathroom plaque. Thick domestos clings to surfaces better to thoroughly remove dirt, mould and bathroom plaque, bringing your bathroom back to life, no matter how long it's been neglected. Thick domestos, the best bathroom plaque cleaner for ages. There's one food that has virtually no fat, no artificial additives or colouring, and absolutely no cholesterol, but is packed with complex carbohydrates. That's energy. And what's more people in the world sit down to it than any other food. And yes, it's rice. Yes, rice. Grown in Australia by Sunrise.
People ask me for all sorts of recommendations, but for heartburn and indigestion, I only recommend my Lanta, now in new convenient roll tabs. I recommend the antacid that was recommended to me.
Mylanta Roll Tabs. Mighty relief, mighty fast.
For value and quality, freshness that you can see, specials every day of the week.
It's Festival's 3rd birthday, and for the next 4 weeks, we'll have unheard of specials like chum dog food just $1.49, honey leg ham $7.99 a kilo, and Rosella variety soups only 99 cents each. Come in for the first week of Festival's 4-week party.
Come to Festival, the friendly size supermarket.
Thick domestos clings better to thoroughly remove mould and bathroom plaque, bringing your bathroom back to life. Thick domestos, the best bathroom plaque cleaner in ages.
Hello, welcome back to Win News. Well, here we are at the Toowoomba Showgrounds where preparations are underway for Garden Fest. This is the Toowoomba City Council's magnificent display, and incidentally all of the plants here are for sale if you really do like them. Let's take a look and see what the weather's doing for the next few days. 2 rainfalls, and in the 24 hours to 9 o'clock this morning, 110 millimetres was dumped on Chinchilla. Dalby had 102. And if you're travelling, please check with the RACQ on the number at the bottom of screen, as late today some roads were closed to conventional vehicles. The number 076 381 588. To the temperatures, and the top 21 degrees today in Kingaroy, the lowest 13. Onto surface charts, and the low near Fraser Island is circulating very moist northeast to southeasterly winds over the viewing area. The upper low is now near Moree and has cleared most of the rain into northern New South Wales. Bands of rain are sweeping around the surface low, bringing further good rain in an area south of Dalby to Yarraman. Ahead, the surface low and rain will move south. The Downs will be under the influence of moist south to southeasterly winds. This will bring cloudy conditions and some shower and drizzle to the eastern and southern Downs. To district forecasts, Darling Downs and Gonnet Belt continuing cloudy, rain easing to showers and drizzle tomorrow. Wide Bay and Burnett cloudy with showers and drizzle increasing southwards. Toowoomba continuing cloudy with rain tending to showers and drizzle tomorrow. There's your sunrise and sunset. And tonight's wind weather watcher is Fiona Jurakowski. And Craig, if you've got any queries about gardening, of course this is the place to be, because there'll be people involved with nurseries, landscaping, all that sort of thing here at Garden Fest.
Great place for garden tips. Thanks, Chrissy. Well, Toowoomba fashion houses launched their autumn and winter collections for 1996 last night during the annual Health Foundation Fashion Parade. All aspects of ladies and men's fashion were on display, including casual wear, day wear and after 5, formal wear from leading retailers around Toowoomba. The event, now in its 7th year, attracted just over 400 people, raising around $3,000 for the Darling Downs Health Services Foundation. Most of the money will go to the Toowoomba Base Hospital and its latest project, crisis accommodation for country patients and their families. Well, join us again tomorrow night on Win News when we detail plans to reconnect Warwick with the granite belt via an old-style steam train. Hope you can join us for a ride tomorrow night at 6. We'll see you then. Good night.
With Bruce Page and Heather Ford, this is National 9 News.
Floods, blackouts and road havoc as wild weather batters the southeast. Queensland sits on the fence as other states back an automatic weapons ban. And Siamese twins born in America. Good evening. The big wet is breaking records, with parts of Brisbane getting their worst ever May drenching. As well as the downpour, high winds are also battering southeast Queensland. The combination has brought down trees, cut power to thousands of homes and made driving a nightmare.
None were caught more unaware by the gale-force winds than motorists on the Centenary Highway. The big gum tree struck hard across this Commodore, crushing the new car, pinning the driver and causing a Constantina accident. Air Force personnel travelling behind mounted a rescue effort until the emergency services arrived. The injured man received only a broken wrist. Throughout the night, the wind and torrential rain toppled trees and wreaked havoc across the southeast corner. Power lines were downed and transformers shorted out as far west as Toowoomba. In Brisbane, nearly 40,000 consumers lost power. Brisbane's wettest May in 16 years saw the usual trouble spots well and truly underwater, and with them several vehicles. Waterways burst their banks, blocking roads, creating long delays in peak hour. Once again, Toowoomba Shopping Town's car park was awash.
Yes, in Brisbane in particular, we broke a record. We got 163 millimetres in the 24 hours to 9 o'clock this morning.
At Enoggera Dam, where the level rose 4 metres in 6 hours, the sluice gates were open, purging the overload into Breakfast Creek. Amazingly though, Brisbane's main reservoirs, the Wivenhoe and Somerset dams, report little or no runoff and are operating at around 50% capacity. The Weather Bureau says the heaviest rain is now over northern New South Wales.
By tomorrow, mostly fine conditions will prevail, and across the weekend as well.
Michael Lyons, National 9 News.
A similar saturation for the Gold Coast. Roads became rivers, paddocks turned into lakes. Localised flooding forced some schools to close. It certainly wasn't the weather for boating. Powerful winds steered some right along the coast, aground and underwater. Trees were uprooted along the beach strip and at Mount Tambourine. Patio roofs didn't fare well. In other areas, brick housing was battered.
They're actually laughing, saying the place is falling down around us. With about 10 minutes of saying that, it literally did.
A number of shops at Southport lost power after a fire in a fuse box.
Got my keys in the door there, and all of a sudden I realised my door was alive and I got a minor electrical shock.
Wheelie bins were needed to catch the excess as roofing at the new Robina Town Centre leaked. Some beaches amazingly remained open, but the only thing to take a dip was a caravan. Big seas too on the Sunshine Coast. Heavy erosion created a muddy waterfall, making this mountain road impassable. Dumping rain and a high tide forced an overflow of the Maroochydore River. Many roads were heavily flooded, but by late this afternoon, levels began to drop. Karen Cooper, National 9 News.
South of Brisbane, police thought they had a tragedy on their hands. Police, emergency crews and fire officers scoured Scrubby Creek at Marsden looking for 3 boys who'd been playing there on a boogie board. A girl thought she saw them washed away, but they turned up further downstream about an hour later. The episode, a reminder, the wild weather is not ideal for playing in. And John Schluter's full weather forecast later in the news. To the Port Arthur tragedy now, and divisions are widening between the states over what to do about gun laws. New South Wales has handed its powers over to Canberra, but our government won't say if Queensland will back a ban on the kind of weapon used in Sunday's massacre.
It'll be seen as strange a nation so united by the grief and shock of Port Arthur isn't as one in moves to stop another massacre. Tasmania has said yes to John Howard's call for a national ban on automatic and semi-automatic weapons. Queensland won't say yes or no.
We have a very open mind. We've got a very open approach.
New South Wales has taken a radical approach, today handing over control of firearms to Canberra.
Well, I think the other states will be shamed into following our initiative.
Again, Russell Cooper won't rule it in, neither will he rule it out.
Nothing is rejected.
It's understood the Premier will reject it. Rob Borbidge reportedly against it. Mr Cooper will meet interest and lobby groups next week to formulate a policy, and that includes talks with the opposition. Blame and bitterness is now being apportioned. Labor Senator Chris Schott blames Tasmania's gun laws.
Tasmania, let's be blunt about it, unfortunately has reaped what it has sowed.
And New South Wales Shooters Party MP John Tingle.
I hope he recognises what his party has wrought on Australia by following these policies.
A very cowardly, left-wing piece of political exploitation of a dreadful, massive tragedy.
Lane Kelkart's National 9 News.
The Tasmanian government has confirmed it'll demolish the cafe where most of the victims died, but only after the trial of the accused man. Doctors operated on Martin Bryant's burns today as investigations continue into what led to the slaughter.
This is the man who may have sold the gun that brought the death of most of the victims of the Port Arthur massacre. It was identical to this, an AR-15 military rifle, and gun dealer Stuart Woods sold it legitimately under Tasmanian law, not to alleged killer Martin Bryant, but to someone who sold it to the Martin family's gun collection at Seascape Cottages. Martin Bryant frequently browsed at the gun shop he could see from his bedroom window, but it was to Mr Woods that he turned last week.
Well, on the Tuesday,
he visited his backyard gun shop twice, the last time on Friday, trying to buy or get repaired a military-style rifle. Each time he was refused because he had no licence.
He always seemed to be cheerful. He never seemed to come in nervous or anything like that. He never seemed to be sullen. He was always quite pleasant.
Tasmania's gun laws worked then to this extent. The alleged killer could not get the guns he wanted because he was not a licensed shooter. He had to steal them, and for that he went to a place where he knew military-style weapons would be kept. His father's friends, the Martins. Once they'd been killed, the alleged murderer would have their collection and all the weapons he'd need.
He went to the Seascape Cottage, took the firearms from there, and then went down and did the rest of Port Arthur, took a hostage, and did it that way.
Police say the sequence of the murders remains interesting and forensic checks are still being made. But their increasing concern has become Bryant's safety amid increasingly violent threats.
We know that when incidents like this occur, it brings people out of the woodwork who have got unusual personalities.
After surgery on his burns today, the hospital expects him ready for transfer to Tasmania's Risdon prison within a week. Threatening calls are now being traced, and Cranks warned they face prosecution and even imprisonment.
The threats for some staff are scary, some staff are scared.
Still, ordinary people continue to offer what comfort they can. Even dogs were enlisted today in what was said to be a successful effort to cheer up, if only briefly, some of the wounded. Late this afternoon, one patient was flown home to Victoria. It'll be to another hospital, St Vincent's in Melbourne, but at least the convalescence will be closer to family and friends. Tasmanian police say they've been helped by advice from Dunblane, Scotland, and from New Zealand police who've dealt with massacres. They will not comment on reports that other Tasmanian unsolved murders and suspicious deaths are being reopened in the light of Bryant's arrest. In Hobart, Hugh Remington, National 9 News.
In England, a young boy has recognised a photo of his father as one of those injured at Port Arthur. When Gareth Collier collected his morning paper in Nottingham, he discovered this photo on the front page.
My sister says, does that look like Dad to you? And I says, yes, it does.
He learnt that at the time of the shooting, Graham Collier shielded his girlfriend, saving her life. Gareth hasn't seen his father since his parents separated 3 years ago. Now he calls him a hero.
I love him really much and I want to see him one day.
And in a tragic addition to the massacre, the small West Australian town where victim Kate Scott lived has suffered another devastating loss. 6 teenagers died in a high-speed crash near Moora, 170 kilometres north of Perth. The car ran off the road, rolled several times and burst into flames. The victims' families live close to Ms Scott's parents in a community already grieving over Port Arthur.
It certainly is devastating that this loss has been so great in such a short time.
Police say it's one of the worst accidents in the state's history. In America, the birth today of Siamese twins. The girls were delivered by caesarean section at the Loma Linda Hospital in Southern California.
Even now, a normal delivery is inspirational and exciting. But this delivery was truly awesome. It was truly awe-inspiring.
Shauna and Janelle Roderick are joined at the stomach and share liver tissue. But doctors believe a separation is possible, probably in a year's time. Still to come, a hero honoured for his bravery and remembering the unsung heroes of the Air Force.
Tonight, the heartbreaking plight of a dancing bear.
Upper right canine infected.
So how long has he had these problems?
Years.
Poor thing.
Turning the tide on a brutal tradition.
Be happy.
And the deadly art of snake catching. Wildlife Tonight.
Does your bank help save you money with a low 7.9% home loan rate for the first year? No.
Mine does.
Which bank?
Australia's competitive home loan bank.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
Hello and welcome to Ford Today.
D District is over 900 square kilometres and a Ford Mondeo is helping Victoria's police with Neighbourhood Watch.
We need the vehicle to transport ourselves around to various meetings and other equipment that is used in our everyday use in the Neighbourhood Watch program. The vehicle itself is extremely secure in two aspects that I believe. The central locking, there are no obvious door locks, so it makes it extremely difficult to break into the vehicle. Secondly, the back compartment has a blind which you can actually pull over any equipment or goods that you have in the back of the station wagon. It comes standard with the vehicle, and it's a tremendous aspect of it. Without the donation from Jeff Wignall Ford of the Mondeo, the effectiveness of the program in this district would be restricted.
Ford Mondeo, the affordable European helping Victorian Bayside suburbs become safer communities.
As always, safe motoring.
At Hayes, our first ever pre-Mother's Day progressive sale is now really in full flight. It's 44%. Tomorrow it's a whopping 44% discount of everything in the store. Giftware, jewellery, watches, all discounted by 44% at Hayes Jewellers Progressive Sale.
Yes, 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 new stock arriving every day. Packs of 2 chamois, $2. Barbecue brushes, $2. Packs of 3 wall hooks, 60 cents. Packs of 2 handy cutters, $1.50. 24-inch handsaw, $4. Rubber doormats, $2. Craft tin prices, 4 sizes, 70 cents, $1, $1.50 and $2. Masking tape, 2 sizes, $1 and $2. Assorted gift baskets, $4.95. And bags of potpourri for only $2. But only a pick and save, only while stocks last, open 7 days.
Does your bank have the complete home loan to suit your changing life?
No. Mine does.
Which bank?
Australia's flexible home loan bank.
The inquiry into the secret deal between the police union and the coalition has been told a union official endorsed the Liberal candidate in the Mundingborough by-election. In a television interview, Merv Bainbridge stated the best policies are those of Frank Tanti. The police union denies it waged a political campaign against the Goss government. Queensland's 10-year hospital rescue program will now take at least another 2 years to complete. The new government is blaming the delay on Labor, which it accuses of allowing $1 billion cost blowout through massive waste.
Armed with the results of a special audit, the minister set out to tar and feather the opposition leader and his deputy, both former health ministers.
And certainly never let them near a chequebook.
Both were accused of presiding over a capital works section where contracts were rorted, mismanagement rife.
In respect of the tendering problems in the department, we find what is nothing more than a scandal.
Why didn't you refer it to the CJC? You know why? Because you are playing politics.
Unmoved, Rob Borbidge said over $280,000 to a PR company should have been spent on specialist equipment.
We didn't get the medical version of a mobile image intensifier, but we got the political version.
The opposition leader branded the political ambush a fraud. The $1 billion-plus blowout in health capital works included coalition promises.
We're seeing the use of the lie to camouflage the truth.
Any millions squandered could soon be made up by the imposition of another tax hike on cigarettes. The health minister confirming he favours raising the tobacco tax.
That would be my recommendation, but the decision would lie with Cabinet and with the Treasurer.
Spencer Jolly, National 9 News.
Queensland's first memorial to those who fought and died in the Air Force has been unveiled in Brisbane. Although the rain poured on the parade, it couldn't dampen the spirits of those who came to honour fallen comrades.
They came from Queensland, Australia, around the world. Former RAF servicemen and women honouring the memory of the thousands who died in conflicts from the First World War to Vietnam. Eventually, about 1,000 people had gathered in Queen's Park in near torrential rain. Among the veterans, senior officers from Australia, Britain, the United States. An emotional service followed. Keynote speaker, the Air Force's most senior officer.
In doing so, I am representing more than 250,000 men and women who have served in the RAAF.
The rain and wind eventually took their toll. A member of the Honour Guard collapsed and was taken away for treatment. The memorial is the result of 3.5 years' work by former Lancaster bomber pilot Lionel Rackley.
I know how I feel about it, and I imagine that most other Air Force people would feel the same way. It's just something that I just couldn't put into words.
There'll be another more spectacular tribute to those that fell this weekend when Amberley hosts an international air show celebrating the RAF's 75th anniversary. Paul Murphy, National 9 News.
In Britain, 2 girls stand accused of kicking a 13-year-old friend to death in a crime which has shocked the nation. Witnesses say Louise Allen was set upon by a gang of up to 30 girls outside a fun fair in Northamptonshire. The teenager was kicked in the head until she was unconscious. She later died in hospital. The girl's friends have kept a vigil at the site where she was attacked.
She's just the bestest friend I could ever have, and she's gone now.
2 girls, aged 12 and 13, have been charged with manslaughter. Around the world, workers have been celebrating May Day. In Cuba, the theme was defiance of the USA and its crippling trade blockade. In Moscow, President Yeltsin went dancing, while his communist rivals were calling for a return to their good old days. The jobless in East Germany turned it into a battle with police. So did union members in Turkey, using May Day to protest against inflation. Palestinian President Yasser Arafat continues his transformation from reputed terrorist to statesman, the guest of honour today at the White House. It was a reward for the PLO revoking its pledge for the destruction of Israel.
Under difficult circumstances, he kept that commitment. And now it's time for us to discuss the continuation of the peace process.
Arafat is now talking about the formation of a Palestinian state by the turn of the century. A Brisbane man has been awarded the highest civilian medal for bravery. Victor Bosco received the Cross of Valour from Governor Leneen Ford at Government House this morning. Mr Bosco was praised for endangering his life to help arrest 2 gunmen who robbed a Brambles crew at Northside Strathpine in 1993. He rammed their getaway car and was shot at. Shattered glass injured his shoulder, arm and hand. He rejects he was a hero.
I feel special today, but not as a hero.
Mr Bosco is only the 2nd recipient of the award. The sport now, something of a cloud over the weekend racing, Bomber.
Yes, Bruce, Eagle Farm's drenched and the Winter Carnival may be delayed. That's next. And bowling's Battle of the Sexes.
From Marriage Blues
Jennifer's suing me for divorce.
To jealous confrontation.
This is about you and me. Get over it.
It's all happening in ER.
You're not overeating, Mrs. Saunders. You're in labour.
8:30 tonight on Win Television.
It's an inspiration by design. Introducing the all-new Taurus. Its 3-litre 24-valve Duratec V6 engine travels up to 150,000 kilometres before its first scheduled tune-up. It's more responsive than you'd ever expect from a full-size luxury sedan. The all-new V6 Ford Taurus Ghia. Now it's your turn to be inspired.
Now for the test, Bill. Which pour-on kills worms for longer?
Ivermectin made 14 days.
But Cydectin keeps on killing worms when the others have given up.
Cydectin kills ticks and it's safe for dung beetles.
28 days. Cydectin wins because it kills worms for longer.
There have been some changes at Rush's service station at Inglewood. Rush's BP service station has reopened. And while some things have changed, the expert-friendly service remains the same. Because now Kevin Rush is your local BP man. Rush's BP, Albert Street, Inglewood.
It's a classic Mother's Day at Clifford Gardens. At Amcal Chemist, choose from 50ml Revlon Fire and Ice Spray was $63, now just $49.95. Or the Golden 5, a collection of 5 classic Estee Lauder fragrances valued at over $220, now just $65.
Mama's making Canton, doesn't take long for the word to spread around.
Canton sweet and sour in only 10 minutes with the crispest vegetables and authentic Asian flavour. Spice up your life with Canton.
In show business, there are a few simple rules.
You do Madonna, Madonna, Madonna.
But you keep it all inside. Study your character.
Hold the knife straight.
Learn your lines.
How do you feel about that call today? I mean, the Dolphins.
How do you think I feel? Betrayed, bewildered?
And always play it straight.
Damn straight. Damn straight.
That went well. Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, and Diane Wiest. The Birdcage.
Now showing at Toowoomba 5 Cinemas.
Good evening. Because of the rain, the start of the Winter Racing Carnival at Eagle Farm on Saturday is in doubt. The course has been inundated with more than 300 millimetres in the past 10 days. That's 12 inches on the old scale.
A glitzy launch to the Channel 9 Winter Carnival at the Heritage Hotel in Brisbane last night. Leading racing identities and some of Brisbane's who's who adding glamour to the occasion. That colourful opening note contrasted markedly to the scene on the track early this morning. Eagle Farm made a bleak picture as entrance in this Saturday's Guineas were restricted to light work on the sand track. Whether they get to race on Saturday is very doubtful.
Oh, you couldn't race today. Definitely couldn't race today. It's soft, there's a lot of water there, there's a hell of a lot of water.
It was also a gloomy day for Melbourne jockey Greg Hall, who's lost his appeal against a 2-month suspension and a $50,000 fine for careless riding on Merlin in this year's Golden Slipper. However, the AJC did drop an improper riding charge. In Kentucky, former champion Let's Elope has given birth to her first foal, a bay filly by leading stallion Dan Zig. The 1991 Melbourne Cup winner dropped the foal overnight, and both mare and foal are doing well.
Looking at her this morning, she looked me in the eye and said to me, I'm going to clean up all these American horses, you just wait and see. And I said, that's fine by me.
Let's Elope retired from racing 2 years ago after winning 11 of her 26 races and more than $3 million in prize money. Sean Lawson, National 9 News.
In sport, it's not often that men and women get to play in the same arena at the same time. Bowling is an exception, and this weekend 5 women will take on 122 men in the National Classic at Cannon Hill in Brisbane.
It's the second most popular participant sport in the world behind soccer, and even though Australia's climate does little to help indoor sports, there's still plenty who chase bowling's holy grail, the 300 game.
It's one of the few sports that there's such a thing as perfection. There is a perfect game that can be bowled.
and you play rugby league, you play soccer, you can have a great performance, but you can't say, I was perfect.
And perfection pays handsomely.
Manhattan Classic we bowled last weekend had the largest ever prize in the country, $100,000 for a 300 game, and both Ian Bradford and Andrew Frawley bowled one, so they got $50,000 each.
Unique 2 Bowling's Battle of the Sexes, conducted on an even playing field with no quarter asked or given.
Really, any sport, women and men should be equal, and in this event, it's really great.
Ironic too, it's the men who feel the pressure most.
It certainly isn't fun playing against a lady in a tournament final. They seem to get a lot of crowd support, which makes it pretty hard, and if you sort of lose, the guys sort of let you know in a big way.
The 19th Cool Foam Classic will be played over 3 days, the final round on Monday afternoon. Steve Haddon, National 9 News.
That's it in 9 Sport. Mario Finnick, one of our guests, or he returns to the footy show tonight, and Tommy Rodonicus is there as well.
Sounds terrific. Yeah. See you at 9:30. In economic news, for the first time in 2 years, Australia is not living beyond its means. Our exports were higher than imports in March, but we still chalked up a trade deficit of $1.5 billion because of the interest on our foreign debt. On the stock market, the All Ordinaries rose 9 points, led by strong buying of resources. Our dollar back over 79 US cents again. John next with details on the big wet and another honour for The Voice.
On a current affair,
the army of new mums who just can't cope.
Shocking.
Who are you going to call?
Some of the women by the time I get here are feeling very desperate.
Priscillian, the baby fixers who work little miracles.
It's Clinique gift time. With any Clinique purchase of $30 or more, take home your gift containing powder blusher, daily eye saver, facial soap mild, dramatically different moisturising lotion, different lipstick and long-last lipstick in a cosmetic bag. Offer available while stocks last.
The choice you've been waiting for. Mitsubishi introduces Australia's newest 6. That choice is waiting for you at your Midwest Mitsubishi dealer. See it, touch it, drive it at Len Paddy Mitsubishi Toowoomba and Dalby, Lindenberg and Company Pittsworth, Graham Collins Mitsubishi Warwick, Ainsworth Motors Chinchilla, Dundas Mitsubishi Kingaroy, Mergen Mitsubishi and Tate Motors Gundawindi. Now, that's a feeling.
Mother's Day already. What'll I do this year?
Hey! Down here! Why not get stuck into a few odd jobs? With Mitre 10's Mother's Day catalogue, you'll get a 10 out of 10 result. This Black & Decker twin drill offer just $149. ACI Pink Bat's just $19.95. This Yates sprayer just $32.95. With 25% off entrance doors, you'll make a big impression. So make Mum's Day 10 out of 10.
Mitre 10 out of 10 every time.
Moving to Glenfield Grange was the best thing we ever did. It's lovely here. The residents and the management are all so helpful. Our privacy is respected. But when we feel like socialising, there's so much to do. I feel secure and content. We should have done this years ago.
Not having to worry about the lawns and looking after the old house is marvellous. We don't even need our car. And the bus takes us everywhere. I especially like the social outings. Isn't it time you visited Glenfield Grange?
Nice and easy does it every time.
Do you know the easiest way to get gas for your home?
Gee, what is it?
It's L-Gas. L-Gas can make life easier for businesses too.
Gee, that's good.
Best of all, their friendly, professional staff are just a phone call away. So call L-Gas on 131 161.
Nice and easy does it.
Because life's easier with L-Gas.
It's Clinique gift time. With any Clinique purchase of $30 or more, take home your gift containing powder blusher, daily eye saver, facial soap mild, dramatically different moisturising lotion, different lipstick and long-last lipstick in a cosmetic bag. Offer available while stocks last.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by your Midwest Mitsubishi dealer.
Good evening. The last 24 hours has seen some incredible rain in southeast Queensland. With that came the wind. Many Brisbane suburbs recorded their highest 24-hour May rainfalls ever. We'll check some of those in just a moment. And things will begin to improve tomorrow. I know you believe it when you see it. Today's temperatures, again, all were well below average because of this rain. Minimums near 18 degrees, maximums around 21, although the Sunshine Coast reached 26. At the moment, barometer 1,001 and falling, humidity 94%, and it's 19 degrees. Now, we have a map here that shows where the rain has fallen in the 24 hours till 9 this morning. morning. The heavier falls over 200 millimetres near the coast, gradually declining to under 25 further west. Airport had 163 millimetres, a 24-hour record for May. Suburbs like Enoggera and Banyo have had 250 millimetres, and most other Brisbane suburbs around 200 millimetres. OK, let's have a look where this rain is coming from. It's a large low pressure system sitting around southeast Queensland. This afternoon it was near Maroochydore. That is beginning to slowly weaken. That'll happen in the next 12 hours. Now onto the chart we'll see this low pressure system. There it is there, combining with the high with gusty southeasterly winds. Tomorrow as that low begins to ease, a few showers, occasional showers tomorrow, and across the weekend a few coastal showers, but we should start to see the sunshine. But by Monday there is the chance of some more rain, an upper level trough beginning to come through, but hopefully will dry out across Saturday and Sunday. Capital city forecasts for tomorrow, and Perth's fine and 26 degrees, Melbourne becoming fine, shower or two for Canberra, and some rain in Sydney. Now the northern centres, plenty of sunshine up there tomorrow. We could do with a bit of that. Fine for Cairns right down the coast to Mackay. As we go further south into central Queensland, Rocky and Gladstone will be fine with some sunshine, and showers and drizzle south from there right down the coast to Maryborough. Now, southeast Queensland, rain and winds gradually easing tomorrow, easing a little slower on the Gold Coast, a shower or two across the weekend, but hopefully we'll see some sunshine. Moreton Bay, a gale warning is still current, southeast to northeast winds at 35 to 45 knots, easing tomorrow, seas around 3 metres. Brisbane, rain gradually easing to occasional showers tomorrow, 18 to 22 degrees. Looking further ahead, a few showers on Saturday and Sunday, and some more rain coming back on Monday. Once we start to dry out on the weekend, hopefully, mould and mildew is going to become a problem. Now, for bathroom surfaces, mix 1 tablespoon of eucalyptus oil with 1 tablespoon of methylated spirits, then add 2 cups of water, then use it in a spray bottle, wherever the problem might be. Those details are on the 9 line, 1800 060 966. And before we go, a quick look at the radar. Still more to come tonight, so watch the roads and also the rising streams. Heather was actually stranded because of that today. Hopefully she'll be back tomorrow. Won't have an excuse. We should see a little better conditions tomorrow.
One of the joys of country living, John.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Another honour today for former Australian of the Year, John Farnham. He's officially accepted his Order of Australia medal, which was granted in this year's Australia Day honours list. He received the award along with hundreds of other Australians, less famous perhaps, but just as deserving.
I mean, I'm just a rock and roll singer, and I'm very grateful for this, and it's terrific, and I just do what I do, but a lot of these people are absolutely remarkable.
Farnham was given the gong for his contribution to music and for his work with children's charities. A special moment shared with his 2 sons and wife Jill.
Yes, darling, you're all mine. I'm allowed to keep those.
And that's the news this Thursday. Heather, as we mentioned, is floodbound, but should be back with us tomorrow. Till then, good night.
Hello again. Tonight, the law getting tough with the parents.